Mr. Ratner, I got some questions about how unrealistic some of these goals are. Not that they aren't worthy goals, but that they're unrealistic. You're a nonpartisan energy policy specialist who spent his entire career as an international oil and gas expert. Before your time in the CIA, you spent 4 years at Enron, so you experienced firsthand the impact of corporate fraud and corruption. Now that you've heard claims of a concerted, overwhelming conspiracy to defraud the public of climate change information, have you seen any evidence to support the Democrats' claims of fossil fuel industry deception?
Thank you, Senator. No, during the course of my career, I've never come across anything that to the likes that have been mentioned here today.
Okay. Also, for you, your testimony notes that, pardon me, your testimony notes that fossil fuel comprised 84% of U.S. energy consumption in 2022. What would it mean for the U.S. gasoline and international gas prices if all new and expanded oil gas exploration immediately ceased, as advocated by some of my colleagues, as well as the staff report? That's the report I referred to in my opening comments.
Sure. I think the initial announcement would send certain shockwaves and uncertainty to the market that basically was saying the U.S. is going to be pulling out of the global fossil fuel industry, whether it's oil or gas and petroleum products. And eventually, as that happened, you would see upward pressure on prices globally for those products.
Okay. And Dr. Cohen, if Democrats had their way, they would destroy America's fossil fuel production through excessive regulation and limited taxation at a time when Americans can least afford it. In your view, in your point of view, what is the difference between tobacco and fossil fuel commodities? What impact would a massive oil and gas supply reduction have on geopolitical conflict and the U.S. economy?
Senator, as I'm saying in my testimony, an abrupt halt to all fossil fuel production in this country would be an economic suicide. The fundamental difference between tobacco and fossil fuel industry is that fossil fuel industry brings a tangible economic good to the economy. Without it, we cannot have our transportation, our deliveries, our military machines, planes, tanks moving around. So I hope that nobody in their right mind is advocating immediate cessation of fossil fuel production.
Would you care to comment on the first part of my question about the difference between tobacco and fossil fuel commodities?
As I said, tobacco, the science is establishing that the only thing tobacco does is addiction and health harm. Fossil fuel, on the other hand, as polluting as it may be, produces huge amounts of relatively cheap and concentrated energy, and without it, our economy and our society would collapse.
I apologize for missing your point on tobacco. My last question.
Yes, sir.
In their staff report, the Democrats condemned the description of natural gas as a bridge fuel. They call it deception. These are quotes: deception, disinformation, and doublespeak, end of quote. Is this true?
I think vilifying an industry that was the backbone of U.S. economic growth in the last part of the 19th century and for all of 20th century is speaking to a certain agenda. The speakers here talked about methane emissions, that yes, there are methane emissions, but the leading industry that contributes to methane emissions is animal husbandry and agriculture. Nobody talked about that. the fossil fuel industry produces less methane than agriculture. What are we going to do about that?